Hurricane Milton is swirling over the Gulf of Mexico as a Category 5 storm, the strongest on the scale. It's prompted the evacuation of nearly 6 million people as it approaches Florida. Tampa's mayor has warned that anyone who remains would face death from the region's second hurricane in as many weeks.
It looks like a ghost town as communities on Florida's Gulf Coast shut down ahead of Hurricane Milton. Heavy traffic was seen on the highway as thousands fled the path of the storm. That's after authorities and residents scrambled to secure debris scattered by Hurricane Helene less than 2 weeks ago.
See the devastation on the beach. If you turn around and see all the debris everywhere, it's worried about all these being missiles.
We're very scared. We don't know what to expect, and we don't know when to come back home. Like, that's the hard part. What's next?
Preparing for round two. You know, trying to salvage whatever very little is left and secure whatever I can.
The latest satellite images show Hurricane Milton heading towards Florida. It's predicted to make landfall Wednesday night. US President Joe Biden warned that Milton could be one of the worst storms to hit the US state in a century.
If you're under evacuation orders, you should evacuate now. You should have already evacuated. It's a matter of life and death, and that's not hyperbole. It's a matter of life and death.
A huge storm on the heels of the devastation left by Helene. It also struck Florida's west coast and killed at least 230 people across several US states. Now residents are again racing to protect their lives and property.
For more on that, let's bring in Dave Nussbaum, chief meteorologist at CBS 42, a TV station in Birmingham, Alabama. Dave, Hurricane Milton is set to make landfall on a part of Florida that was already hit hard by the last Hurricane Helene. How does this hurricane compare to the last one?
Well, this one will have a much greater impact on Florida. Helene was more moving up just north there along the Florida coastline and brought significant storm surge or rise in water up across the coastal areas of Florida. That moved in, caused significant flooding along the coastal regions, and they had a little bit of some wind. This one is not only going to bring a significant storm surge, but also potentially some significant winds. We're talking wind speeds out there. Category 5 is 165 miles per hour right now, the sustained winds there as it sits in the southern part of the Gulf of Mexico. So you're going to have winds, you're going to have the storm surge, and you're going to have some rain, although the rain totals won't be overly high compared to what they saw with Helene up there in North Carolina.
And Hurricane Helene across the whole region, the southeast, killed a few hundred people. Is Milton going to be as dangerous?
There's a possibility. I don't want to say that's a certainty, but if those that were in the significant areas that will see the highest surge of water as well as the strongest winds did not evacuate or leave those areas, their lives are definitely going to be something you will have to keep in mind and could possibly be in jeopardy, as you heard our president say earlier.
Now, we've heard the storm could weaken, but it could also get bigger, cover more area. What's the latest on that intensity, and what does that mean for people in Florida?
So right now, the storm is roughly about 250 miles wide. It is expected to at least double that, maybe a little bit more before it makes landfall. And as that happens, the wind speed, currently 165 miles per hour, will go down close to maybe 130 or maybe down to 125, which is still significant winds that produce widespread damage. But as the wind speed comes down, the area of the strongest winds will expand. So areas from Tallahassee, Florida, all the way down to Key West, Florida, will have some impacts from the wind from this storm as it grows in size.
And there's still debris lying around in some places from the last hurricane. Talk about that. Tell us about that.
And that's a significant concern, Daniel, because what will happen with that is, one, when the surge come in, that's going to push that all over the place, right? But if the winds pick up, those can become projectiles and possibly cause some more damage to places all around the coast and maybe parts inland as well, too. So unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be enough time for the crews to pick up all that debris left over from Helene, from all the flooding of those homes along the coastline. Between now and when the storm will make landfall, we're talking late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning, Eastern time here in the United States is when that storm will move in. So they're running out of time to get those preparations done.
Now, just briefly, if you can, these are two really huge storms hitting Florida in such a short time. How much of this can we pin on climate change?
The aspect of climate change doesn't come from the hurricane itself. It comes from the bigger global picture we have to look at. And we're talking about the warmer temperatures allow the ocean to be warmer, or in this case, the Gulf of Mexico to be warmer. And it's not just the surface, it's deep, warm water. And that's what fuels hurricanes. And as we continue seeing warmer temperatures, that could lead to warmer water temperatures, which is fuel for these storms to get stronger and more intense.
Dave Nussbaum, Chief Meteorologist at CBS 42 in Birmingham, Alabama. Thanks for talking to us.
Well, I'm joined now by Cyndee O'Quinn. She's a meteorologist in Gainesville, Florida. She is tracking Milton's path. Cyndee, it's good to have you with us. You heard it right there. The U.S. president, he did not mince his words when he said that this is a matter of life and death. Just how destructive will Milton be?
Well, unfortunately, this is the second hurricane in 2 weeks, as you said in your broadcast. And the Tampa Bay area, when we had Hurricane Helene came through, we had 12 deaths in the Tampa Bay area, and we saw storm surges that were up to 7.2 feet. And now with this predictions with Hurricane Milton, we're looking at storm surges of 10 to 15 feet across the Tampa Bay area, just north of Tampa, all the way down into Sarasota, St. Petersburg, and Inglewood. So this is a pretty powerful storm as it's been moving across the Gulf of Mexico. In fact, it had the 5th lowest pressure on record at 897 millibars, and its winds at one time up to 180 miles per hour. We had an eye replacement cycle during the overnight hours, and we saw it weaken just a little bit also as it passed the Yucatan Peninsula, but wind speeds are increasing now back up to 155 miles per hour. They are expecting it to get back up to a Category 5, and then weaken a little bit as it gets into a little bit drier air right before it makes landfall. But again, in Florida, we are bracing for it. And because of having the hurricane just 2 weeks ago causing the storm surges that were only 6 to 7 feet, up in the Cedar Key area, they were up to 10 feet. We've seen a lot of destruction, and this one storm expected to even pack a more powerful punch.
And Cyndee, we are hearing that people who want to evacuate, they are struggling to leave partly due to fuel shortages, that there's just not enough gas. I mean, what are you hearing? What's the situation?
It's not as bad as it was with Hurricane Irma in 2017. We had 7 million people evacuate at that point, trying to leave both coasts of Florida. And even here in Gainesville, we're north on I-75. So everyone coming from Tampa down from Fort Myers will come through here. And we ran out of gas actually 5 days before the hurricane. Then we started running out of gas last night. So the gas shortages extend all the way up into the north central part of the state. So even if you get out of the Tampa area, which there's a lot of people, 3 million people in the Tampa Bay area trying to get gas and head northward, there's just definitely been a shortage. And when you do find gas, there are long lines as people are waiting to get gas. And again, truckers still trying to get into the state, bringing more gas, but there is definitely a shortage. So that's one thing that people are running into is where do you find gas? Once you leave Tampa and you're headed north, all the cities along the interstate are running out of gas too.
Yeah, you know, I've got relatives in Florida and North Carolina. I know that the Southeast has still not been able to clear debris from Hurricane Helene. Now we're talking about Milton. Why are we seeing such strong hurricanes in such quick succession?
Well, this time of year, usually into September, the Gulf of Mexico, and climatology-wise, is where we see the formation of hurricanes. There's also an area in the Atlantic, as you know, we have Leslie that's formed. But with this climatology, usually in September, but the water temperatures have been warmer this year. So we're seeing that activity continuing into October. When you have those warmer waters in the Gulf of Mexico, that is what helped to fuel that quick growth of the storm. We saw it just go from a tropical storm early on the weekend until that Cat 5 that was 180 miles per hour. So we have a very warm Gulf of Mexico, and we haven't had a storm track that exact track yet. Even though Helene was nearby, you still had the waters undisturbed. Once you have a storm system go through, you have that upwelling of the cooler water from the bottom, and then any other additional storms will not strengthen as much. But again, just climatology, a lot of storms forming in September to the warmer waters. But again, this year it's been a lot warmer overall with our water temperatures.
Yeah, and a lot warmer, and the storms are a lot stronger this year, that's for sure. Meteorologist Cyndee O'Quinn reporting from Gainesville, Florida. Cyndee, thank you.
Thank you.